Do you ever feel like you should have more time in your day? I think we can all raise our hands on this one. Today, we're talking about 6 time wasters that you probably want to consider cutting from your day starting immediately. You will have so much more free time, you won't even know what to do with yourself. Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renee Matt, and together, you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast. Today's going to be a fun one because we're going to be talking about time wasters that we can get rid of, and we are going to free up so much time. And I think when we can identify and eliminate these habits that drain our time, we will see how much more enjoyment out of life that we can have and how much it reduces our stress too. So, the first thing that I just want to say, just so it's very clear, is that I am not perfect at these and I struggle with these too. And I am going through this list just as much for myself as I am for you. So, take this with a grain of salt and just start where you can. You might not want to cut everything out all at once, but I can share with you what I think are time wasters, and you can decide for yourself if you think these are time wasters for you. And maybe they aren't, and maybe you'll have other ones that you are thinking of that I didn't even include here. So I have 6 that I wrote down that I was thinking of that really affect me and how my day goes. And when I am really struggling with time, if I start cutting these things out, I have so much more free time. So, this is something to just consider and kind of brainstorm if there are any other areas that you can start to save time by cutting other things out too. So, it's just a good uh, practice, and maybe it's a good journaling session to just sit down with a piece of paper or a notebook or your favorite journal and write some of these things out, what you think applies to your life, and see if you're missing anything or what you want to start to eliminate first, and just see how it goes and see how much better you feel. So we'll dive right in because we don't want to waste time, right? So, number one is our phone. And this is pretty predictable. I know you're probably thinking like this was going to be the first one, and it is because it is such a big time waster. It's time wasting on scrolling social media, checking emails throughout the day, checking texts, if you're on, Snapchat or Messenger or any of anything, I guess, really, anything that you use your phone for, you're probably checking things multiple times a day and you're probably not even realizing how often you're checking it. So, when we are trying to eliminate our phone time, then what we need to do is we need to turn off notifications. That's like the first thing so that you're not getting dinged and it's not vibrating constantly and pulling your attention to your phone. You want to turn off the notifications, and then you want to kind of pick times of when you're okay checking your phone. Are you okay checking it when you are, walking up the stairs? Are you okay checking it every hour and just setting a timer, and then that's your phone time? Are you okay keeping it in your pocket and checking it periodically? But be careful about how often you are checking it and be really aware of how often you're checking it. Another thing you can do is download different apps and stuff, and then you have to like answer certain questions, and there's all sorts of things to help you stay off your phone, or to just kind of trigger that like reflex, because a lot of times we pull up our phone without even thinking about it and we log in and we start doing things without thinking that we are intentionally doing it. And it's just some sort of barrier that you need in place. So if it is adding a different password instead of a face ID or anything like that that makes you stop and think, that might be a good way to kind of trigger that remembering to put your phone away, because it's like, oh, wait, I didn't actually need to go on here. I didn't intend to pick up my phone. I'm just doing it out of habit. I can stop and put it back in my pocket or put it back on the counter, wherever you're keeping it. But that is something that can help by just creating some barriers to make it a little bit less easy. Another way, you can just delete social media off your phone. That's what I've been doing, and it is so helpful. I've been doing it kind of off and on for probably a year and a half now. And when I keep it off my phone, I am so much more productive and I am so much less stressed because I don't even think about having to go on my phone for social media. And I actually forget to check things, which is probably not great. I keep up on my business side and I keep up in our Facebook community on Facebook. And if you are not over there, you can head over there and join us. The link is in the show notes. But I do that on my computer when I'm actually sitting down to work rather than doing it on my phone. And that has helped a ton. So I actually end up forgetting to check my personal stuff for quite a while, which I don't think it's that big of a deal. But it's something that helps me stay a little bit more sane. So I'm okay with it. Number two, the second time waster to get rid of is TV. Now, before I go into this one and you're like, I want to watch TV, like I watch TV too. We watch shows, we watch movies, all the things. But I'm just saying to be very intentional about when you're watching TV and if that's what you want to be doing at the time. So I'm not saying cut out TV completely. I don't think that's necessary, especially if that's something that you do with your family or your significant other and that's kind of like your thing. Like, go ahead and keep it. But don't just turn on TV or shows or whatever all the time. Like, be intentional about when you want to sit down and watch it instead of, I know a lot of people turn on the news or have it playing in the background and things like that. And it pulls your attention and it's hard to multitask. And things like that just kind of waste the time, or all of a sudden something comes up and then you're watching it and then 15 minutes go by and before you know it, you are missing something else and then you're late. And it just can create chaos. So, when you are ready to sit down and watch a show or a movie, just be intentional about what you're going to sit down and watch and how long you're planning to sit down. If you're going to spend an entire evening just binge watching a show, great, do it, but make sure that you intended to do it and that your other stuff is already done because if we're just defaulting to binging shows because we don't feel like tackling our responsibilities, that can cause a lot more problems than if we are doing our responsibilities, we're getting all that stuff done, but then we have it planned to just have a night of just lounging and hanging out and popping some popcorn and just watching TV all night. Like that is very different than just watching it because we're procrastinating. Okay. So, number three, the third time waster is podcasts and audiobooks. And you might be like, well, that's a stupid one to include considering you're listening to a podcast. And I get it. It's probably not great for my numbers and my download numbers if I'm promoting you to not listen to podcasts and audiobooks all the time. But I had to include it because it is a huge one for me. When I find a podcast or an audiobook that I'm really into, I want to listen all the time. And anytime I have free time, I have my earbuds in. When I'm walking the dog, when I'm cleaning the house, when I'm doing anything, when I'm cooking, when I'm doing things like that are mindless tasks, I have those in. But I have noticed that it also pushes off my productivity on other things because I'm so focused on listening that I don't always tackle what I need to in the time frame that I should be. So it's just something to be aware of to really make sure that you are listening when it's the best time for you to listen and that you are having some control on when to stop. So that's my struggle is especially audiobooks. Like once I get into an audiobook, I just want to listen to the whole thing and I really struggle putting it away when it's time. So that's just something to be aware of because I know I waste a ton of time when I find some good things. So just be cautious of when you're listening and how often you're listening and make sure it's not pulling you away from the things that you need to be doing that you could be more productive with. Number four is procrastinating. And this one is huge because I am a great procrastinator. So I know the struggle with this one, but it's a kind of a thing of procrastinating and also like not focusing on perfectionism too. So they kind of go hand in hand. But I wanted to give you an example of what this might look like on how you could solve this. So if you are procrastinating, let's say to you're trying to avoid doing laundry. What could help you is to create something that I call a trigger task. And this basically, like, if you are setting up a laundry routine and it's not part of your daily 7 home routine, because laundry is part of my daily 7 home routine, but it doesn't have to be part of yours. You can do it separately if that is something that you need to do. But let's say we have a standalone laundry routine where you need to gather the laundry, gather any hangers, get it down to the laundry room, sort it all out, and then start the load. If that is your routine and you have built it out where, like, this is what you do and this is the order you do it, this is what seems to be the most efficient, it flows the best, this is what I need to do, then build your routine in that order. But what you want to recognize is that the very first thing that you do when you're doing this routine is you're grabbing the laundry basket. And that becomes something called your trigger task. So that when you are needing to do laundry and you're really avoiding it and you don't want to do it, instead of thinking about doing the laundry, all you need to think about doing is your trigger task. You just need to go and grab the laundry basket, because with our minds and how our like cognitive functions work, I don't know if that's the right word. I don't feel smart enough to use that word right now. But how our bodies work and how we go into automatic routine, once you have done this and you've repeated it over and over and over, as soon as you pick up that laundry basket, you are going to start going through the motions of your laundry routine. And what becomes so cool with routines, especially when we build them intentionally on how they flow best and how they work effectively. Then what you have to focus on is just picking up the laundry basket. And once you do that, you will naturally go and gather the laundry. You will pull out the hangers. You're going to go downstairs or wherever your laundry room is. You're going to start sorting things out, and then you're going to throw a load in. And it's not a big deal. But instead of focusing on all of that stuff you have to do and all of those steps and pushing it off, instead of procrastinating, all you have to do is focus on going and picking up the laundry basket. Okay, so just try it, see if it helps you. And if it does, then focus on some other things that you have going on in your life that you do tend to procrastinate, and see if you can build a routine around it of some steps that you can repeat in the same order over and over, and see how that works. And then recognize what the very first thing you do is, and focus on that as your trigger task. So then instead of focusing on the full routine, all you have to do is focus on just doing the trigger task, and then letting that lead you into the rest of the routine. It helps a ton for me, and I hope it helps you too. So, number 5 is confusion and lack of planning. This is a huge time waster because if we don't know what we're doing, we will waste a ton of time. So, we want clarity on what we're trying to achieve. So, I want you to take some time to sit down and write it all out. Write out what you're trying to achieve, in what order, and about how long it's going to take. You don't have to do the full weekly planning process if you're not at that point quite yet. If that feels overwhelming to you, that's okay. Start with just one day at a time. Just sit down, plan out your day, look at what needs to come first, what needs to come next, and have a couple of things on there of what you're trying to achieve. Don't overwhelm yourself. But when you can plan it out and see the order of when you need to do these things and about how long it's going to take, you're also going to see if you are trying to put too much in your day, that it's not even possible to get it all done because there's just not enough time in the day. And so rather than setting yourself up for failure, if you plan ahead, you can recognize, like, okay, I can't get all that stuff done today. So I need to shift some of these things to a different day, or I need to give some of these tasks to somebody else in my family, or this doesn't actually need to be done. I can just cross this off my list and just get it off. Like, that is not a priority right now. So this is a huge way to prioritize how you're spending your time and not wasting your time. And then number 6 is multitasking. And this one might sound like it's going to help you get more done and it's not going to be a time waster. But if you're anything like me, I am so much more effective when I focus on one thing at a time and I set a timer for myself and I just dive in and do it all right away. Now, there are obviously some times where it's going to be easier to multitask. Like if you are, putting the load of laundry in and you're also going to be, doing dinner where it's like, okay, let me throw some ground beef on the stove and then go gather the laundry while that kind of starts to brown, as long as you pay attention to it and you don't burn it and have it frying on the stove. So be careful about how you multitask. Make sure you're a good multitasker. But if you're anything like me, I can't leave the kitchen if I'm cooking because I will forget about it. So just be really selective about what you are multitasking. And there are certain things that I know I can multitask, and there are certain things that I know I can't multitask. So if you can't on some things, just recognize that and don't make you don't make you feel bad about it. Just focus on your like one task that you're trying to accomplish. Set a timer if you need to really stay focused. I love setting timers and focus on that and then move on when that timer goes off or when you complete the task. And then move to the next thing and you will find that you don't feel so scattered and you're not trying to do multiple things at once. Like a huge example of this is like your daily 7 home routine. If you are doing a daily 7 home routine, then you are focusing on one task at a time and you're moving through all 7 tasks as quickly as you can in the same order. Now, before I had a daily 7 home routine in place, then I was trying to clean the house and I would, gather some things in one room and then I would try and straighten things in the living room and then I would start to pull, anything from the bedroom and I would just kind of flutter from room to room, not really fully cleaning anything. And then I would be cleaning the bathrooms and wiping the mirrors and then I would realize I need to shake the rugs, and then I'd go somewhere else and gather the laundry, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I need to put these in the laundry." So then I go down and it was just a mess. It's just a nightmare. You start to forget about things and pretty soon you're cleaning for 2 hours and not one room is actually clean and you feel exhausted and scattered and the house sometimes even looks messier than when you began. And you have like cupboards that are, trashed because they're like half out because you decided to reorganize something in the middle of your cleaning process. That is my brain. So if I am not focused and really intentional about when I am cleaning, then it's just chaos. So I have to be really aware of how I'm spending my time and not multitasking at certain points. So I just want you to be aware of that and just pay attention and recognize when are the good times to multitask and when are the bad times to multitask for you. And then as you are going through trying to eliminate these time wasters, I want you to kind of think about what you want to replace this time with because you're going to have so much more time opening up that you can look at like filling this extra time with some habits that are beneficial to how you want to be living your life. So, a few examples could be to put in a new habit or routine in its place, something that is something that you've wanted to do and that will help you reach your goals. You could also use it as an open time block to keep open to spend some quality time with your family. You could also use the open time to go get a workout in or go for a walk and add that to your day. You could use the time to meal prep or batch cook and prep for the week so that you don't feel stressed at dinner time later on. You could also use it to spend it taking care of yourself by drawing a bath or reading a book or reading a book in the bath. Like you can do lots of different things. So you could also use the extra time to sit and plan out your full week. I recently heard that you are 40% more likely to accomplish something when you write it down, but we also need to make sure that we have a plan on how and when we want to actually accomplish it to make sure that we even have the time to do it. So it's not just about writing it down in a list. It's making sure that we are actually creating a plan that works and fits with our life, and that we do still have some free time so that we're creating more flexibility while still being productive. So, these are just a few things to think about and consider as you are going through your day. And I will recap those really quickly for you. So, the 6 time wasters to cut from your day, starting immediately or whenever you feel necessary, is number one, your phone. Pay attention to your scrollings in the social medias. I don't know if that's the way to say it, but checking emails, checking texts, turn off those notifications, and then choose when you are wanting to actually check your phone and be on your phone. Number two is TV. Be intentional about it. Don't just use it as background noise or use it as a way to procrastinate. Number three is podcasts and audiobooks. Again, be intentional about it. Number four, procrastinating. If you are doing something and you are procrastinating on it, just remember to try to use the trigger task and see if that helps you. Number five was the confusion and lack of planning. We need to get clarity on what we're trying to achieve. So, you want to take some time to sit down and write it all out and know what you're doing, in what order, and about how long it's going to take. And then number six is multitasking. Pick one task at a time and set a timer if you need to stay focused and start to recognize when you can multitask and when you can't. So I hope this helps you free up so much time in your day and you can replace it with those good habits and the good things that you are trying to make time for that you just haven't been able to, or you need some more free time or just space to breathe. Like, these are really great ways to start opening up more time in your day when you can start being really aware of where you are wasting time in your life. So I hope these were helpful and that it gave you something to think about. And I will catch you on the next episode.